My son and I don't live there yet, and I don't pay rent yet. But we stayed there for 8 weeks in the summer, and we go there almost every weekend. We are, or were, planning to move there after I'm allowed to rent out the apartment I bought just around the time I met him. In the area where the house is where my son grew up and has all his friends. My boyfriend is the one responsible for the rental contract, but my name is also on it, and my mom lent him $2,000 for the bond, which he has paid back, but just to show I was very involved with getting the house, so it is mine too. And both my son and I have a lot of our things there. About it being practical, I meant that they don't really have a place to stay, and it is possible for the three of us to stay here in my apartment. But it's not what I want, and it just doesn't sit right with me because of our history. Thank you so much for all your answers. It really helped me see how messed up and abnormal our situation truly is. It has made me question his long-term intentions with me and his intentions with me overall. He said once while drunk that he lives in the house just for the sake of his kids. He can't wait until the next chapter of his life starts. And now this gives a whole new meaning to that. And I'm over here wanting to build a life and family together with him. It makes me feel a bit silly now. I don't want to be difficult or unreasonable. I can see how this is the most practical way to do it. It just made me feel like he is too involved with his old family unit and puts her before me. And I don't know how to move forward without resentment. Also, I don't want to talk with him about this right now because I'm so sure it would turn into an argument. If I said no, it would not be a nice holiday for any of us anyway. So I just need to process it with you all and would greatly appreciate any thoughts on this matter. Some backstory. They have been divorced for about 9 years, but they have a very close co-parenting relationship and friendship as well. He has been relying on her a lot. He left because she cheated on him, and I think part of him still wants her, though he denies it. They talk almost every day, and I feel like he has weak boundaries with her. I have tolerated and accepted this, but now I just think it has gone a bit too far. We have been together for about a year now, and the plan was for my son, who is 11, and me to move into this house that we found together in the summer when he had to move out from his old rental apartment. I bought my apartment at the beginning of our relationship and have to live here a few more months before I'm allowed to rent it out. I had been looking forward to spending 2 weeks of the Christmas holiday at the house. We spend a lot of weekends there, and the whole summer. My son is not 100% convinced yet that he wants to move there, so I was thinking that giving him a really nice Christmas time there would make him more comfortable and would make it feel more like home. Also, it's really close to my parents' house, where we will celebrate Christmas Eve, but from my apartment, it's a 45-minute drive, and I don't really want to do that on Christmas Eve. Now I can't even have a glass of wine at the party. If we stayed at the house, we could just take a cab or even walk the dogs back home. It's only about a 30-minute walk. I think I would rather just sleep at my parents' house then, but I doubt that my boyfriend wants to. I was looking so much forward to the first Christmas in our new house, and now my negative feelings make me feel like I don't want to go there for the New Year weekend either, when it's his turn to have the kids again. Also, I don't like that she and her boyfriend sleep in our bed and get to enjoy my beautifully decorated Christmas house, which I don't get to enjoy. I love Christmas, and it's a bit sacred to me. I wanted to make it so nice for my son and for my boyfriend's kids, who are 13, 15, and 17, when they got back home from Christmas with their mom. Now it's just ruined, and I have to change my thoughts and plans. She can't fit all 3 kids and her boyfriend in her apartment. She only lives with one of them, and 2 with my boyfriend. She has stayed at our house 3 or 4 times before, when we have been traveling on holiday, or she wants to be with all the kids at once. And that's been okay with me, but now it's Christmas. I know that both of them don't care about Christmas the same way I do, so they probably don't see how I feel about that aspect. But I was really looking forward to spending 2 whole weeks there. And it's not fair that it's been taken from me. It feels like he puts them before us. I understand he wants the best for his kids, but maybe she could have rented an Airbnb or something. I feel like that would be more natural, but she wants to save money, I guess. To add, I just found out it's not just a few days, it's a whole week. Just to clarify, he is not staying there with them. He wants us to stay in my apartment while they are in our house. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I'm all for taking one for the team as a step-parent when it's in the best interest of the kids and it's important. But even I take issue with this. I think mom and her boyfriend need to find somewhere else to stay, like her place, and just visit during the day here or there while the kids are at their dad's. I don't think you're out of line to tell your boyfriend that this is out of line. Comment 2. This doesn't sound practical. This sounds like he has no boundaries with his ex. As his ex's boyfriend, I wouldn't want to stay at your place. This is not a home that young, freshly divorced little kids have to leave. This is your place that these kids who are older than yours are crashing in. I don't see how this is the decision. This isn't even an option. Now for the update. It's been just over 2 days since I found out that my boyfriend's ex-wife and their kids are spending Christmas at our house. The past couple of days have been super busy with cleaning and organizing our current place for the move. I thought I would be spending this time with my boyfriend, packing up our home together, but nope. I was on my own with my thoughts and a long list of to-dos. So, my boyfriend suggested we could just have Christmas at his parents' house instead. I mean, I get it, right? We can't exactly have Christmas in our new house when the old tenants are squatting. I agreed to his suggestion without much thought. I just wanted to ease the tension and get through the holidays. While we were packing the other day, I found this framed picture of his kids from his previous marriage tucked away in his closet. It was kind of a shock, to be honest. I didn't say anything about it at the time, but it just added to the weight of everything. Then, he said he needed to finalize some holiday plans with his ex-wife, and I just nodded along. I didn't want to say anything to ruin the mood, whatever mood we had left. On Christmas Eve, he got this text from his ex-wife asking about the arrangements for the kids. They decided to have a family dinner at his parents' house for Christmas Eve, and I'm not even gonna lie, I felt like a total outsider just being there. His parents were super welcoming though, asking all about the move and how we were feeling about it. The atmosphere turned awkward when his sister asked about the kids' Christmas plans though. I felt like I was just kind of standing there, nodding along like a bobblehead while they talked about how great it would be for the kids to spend time with their dad. After dinner that night, my boyfriend stepped outside to take a call from his ex. He was gone for a while, and when he came back, he looked so uneasy. He mentioned that she wanted to discuss the holiday schedule further, and he had agreed to meet her briefly. I just smiled and said okay, but inside, I was just screaming. Christmas morning came, and my boyfriend left early to finalize the arrangements. So here I was, alone on Christmas morning, just trying to keep my mind off things and focused on the upcoming move. I got a text from him later saying he'd be late, and that just kind of added to my already growing list of frustrations. While I was out walking, I spotted his ex-wife's car parked outside the house. Curiosity got the best of me, so I walked over to see what was going on. I saw them talking outside, and they looked so serious. I didn't want to be that person, but I was just kind of drawn in by the whole scene. I didn't want to eavesdrop, but I definitely made my presence known on the way back. On my way back, I bumped into this neighbor who asked if I was moving in soon, and I nodded and mentioned the ex's visit. Her expression totally changed, though. She looked kind of concerned and said she had overheard the ex-wife discussing plans to stay longer than just for Christmas. I arrived back home and found my boyfriend waiting, looking all flustered and stuff. I confronted him about the neighbor's comments regarding the extended stay, and he admitted that his ex brought up the idea of them spending more time at the house. He insisted that he didn't agree, but he seemed so hesitant. It all just kind of hit me at once. You know? He shared that his ex-wife was struggling financially and wanted to stay for the holidays. We ended the conversation without any resolution, and the air was just so thick with unspoken words. I ended up calling my mom to vent about the whole situation. She's been my rock through all of this. She suggested that we have a family gathering to discuss everything, and I think I might just take her up on that. I need to figure out my next steps because, at this point, I'm just feeling so lost and confused. To answer a few questions, my boyfriend and I have been together for about a year. My son is not his child. The home was supposed to be ours, but now I feel misled. Am I the idiot for refusing to let my cheating ex-husband hijack our business after he tried to blame me for his infidelity? I'm trying to understand my ex-husband's perspective, and I'd really like to know how other men would feel in a similar situation. Here's the backstory. My ex-husband and I were married for 10 years, and during our marriage, we started a business together. The business was struggling, and I proposed a pivot to a new niche that I felt I could lead effectively. He agreed, but as the business grew, I naturally became the face of it because the new direction aligned more with my strengths. While the business started to succeed, he told me that he felt displaced, emasculated, and invalidated. He believed his role as the leader and provider for the family was diminished, and it made him feel betrayed, as though I had taken something from him. At the same time, I was juggling being a mom and pursuing my own goals, which he says went against the vision we had for our marriage, where he would lead and I would stay in more traditional roles. Here's where it gets more complicated. I want to clarify that I never pushed him out or said I wanted to do my own thing. I always tried to include him, so we were still working as a team, but I felt like he constantly had an excuse for why my ideas wouldn't work. It often felt like he dismissed my input until the business started to succeed, and by then, his feelings of displacement had already grown. I recognized his feelings of displacement and tried to compromise by stepping back from my role in the business, letting him take the lead again. However, he still felt unhappy and told me that my decision to step back was just to please him, rather than something I genuinely wanted. The very first month we made a significant profit, based on the direction I had pivoted the business toward, was the same month he cheated on me. He said his actions stemmed from feeling displaced and deeply unhappy. He constantly tells me that I refused to take responsibility for how I betrayed him by stepping into the leadership role in the first place, and that I won't accept that that could be the reason he was hurt to have an affair. From my perspective, I feel like I tried to support him while also doing what was necessary to keep the business afloat and pursue my passions. I don't believe my growth or contributions should be seen as a betrayal. I also think it's unfair to justify his cheating or abandonment based on his feelings of being displaced. My question for men: 1, if you were in his position, would you feel the same way? 2, do you think a wife stepping into a leadership role in the business could feel like a betrayal or emasculation? 3, how would you want your wife to handle a situation where the business was failing, but she had a vision for turning it around? 4, is it fair to expect her to give up her growth to protect your role as leader? 5, how do you balance feelings of emasculation while maintaining a partnership that's fair and supportive for both people? I really want to hear your honest thoughts, even if they challenge my perspective. I'm trying to understand this dynamic better. Now for an update. My ex-husband and I started a struggling business together. I proposed a pivot that aligned with my strengths and led to success, but he felt displaced, emasculated, and betrayed, believing I undermined his role as leader and provider. I tried to include him and later stepped back to let him lead, but he still felt unhappy. The same month the business turned a profit, he cheated, saying it stemmed from feeling displaced. He claims I refused to take responsibility for my betrayal of stepping into a leadership role. Men, would you feel the same way in his position? Could this shift feel like a betrayal? How would you handle balancing those feelings while maintaining fairness in a partnership? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. As a woman, I honestly can't believe men are this pathetic. To feel emasculated by your wife making your business a success is insane, and anyone who feels that way needs therapy to work on their own self-image. Is he also emasculated by males who are more successful than him? Or does he only feel entitled to be more successful than half the world's population based on gender? Please stop trying to understand this man's point of view. The second he blamed you for him cheating permanently cemented him as a waste of time and energy. Comment 2. My God, can't finish this. You didn't betray him or your marriage. He couldn't stand to see you shine. In his mind, the only way he could lead is if you're not shining. Be happy he's gone. Who cares what he thinks? He took insecurity to another level. He probably would have found any excuse to cheat. Don't be surprised when he cheats on whoever he is with next, even if he's in his leader position. Now for the update. A few days after the whole cheating mess, I get a text from my ex. Like, what? I thought he was out of my life, but nope. He wants to meet up and talk about the business. I guess that's what happens when your life is mixed up with someone else's. I reluctantly agree, and we decide to meet up at this local diner we used to go to for breakfast. Yeah, so romantic. So I show up at this diner, and he acts like nothing happened. It's like we're back to the old days, just discussing the business like nothing's wrong. I'm sitting there thinking, am I in some weird alternate reality? He looks different though, like he's lost weight or something, and he's acting all anxious. Not that I care, but it's hard to ignore. He starts talking about how the business is doing well and how we might expand. He wants me to take on more responsibility again. I mean, is this guy for real? Shouldn't he figure his life out first before dragging me back into this mess? Then, out of nowhere, he brings up this new friend from a networking event. My stomach drops. Really? Right now? I casually ask him about this new friend, and he brushes it off like it's nothing. They just hit it off over drinks, he says. I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, right, over drinks. More like over your wife. So a few days later, my family has this dinner party, and guess who's also invited? Yep, my ex. The minute he walks in, the air is thick with all kinds of things that aren't being said. We exchange these polite smiles like we're strangers or something. It's super awkward. During dinner, he starts talking about this recent trip he took to a nearby city for a business event, and he mentions all these great connections he made. My younger sister, who's always been close to me, asks about his new friend, and the room goes dead silent. I mean, you could hear a pin drop. He stutters a bit, but then laughs it off, saying it's just a work relationship. Right, just a work relationship. After dinner, I excuse myself and head to the kitchen, where my mom is washing dishes. So casual. I ask her if she's heard anything about my ex's recent activities. She mentions seeing him at the local bar with a woman who didn't look familiar. Oh, perfect. Just what I needed to hear. The next day after work, I decide to head to the bar, hoping to see if he shows up again. I know, not my best idea, but I need to know what's going on. So I'm at the bar, and I spot him sitting there, laughing and talking closely with this woman. My heart sinks. I recognize her as someone from a business networking group we both attended. Like, why does it have to be her? Later that night, I send the photos to a close friend of mine who has connections in our industry. I figured she'd know something. She tells me that the woman is known for her aggressive networking tactics and has a reputation for pursuing married men. Great, just what I need. So I decide to confront my ex about all this the next day at our office. At the office, I wait until we're alone, then pull out my phone to show him the pictures. His face goes pale and he starts stammering, trying to explain. I cut him off, saying I will not tolerate being disrespected again. I tell him I've contacted the business partners about the situation and will share everything I know. He begs me not to go down that road, claiming he's made a mistake and wants to make it right. Make what right? You've already messed up the first time, so what are you trying to fix now? I tell him I'll think about what to do next, but I leave him in this state of uncertainty. A few days later, I get a call from one of our major clients. They heard some rumors about the business partnership and wanted to talk. I calmly explain the situation, making sure the client understands the truth without revealing too much. This client decides to put their contract on hold until things are sorted out. Not the best news, but considering everything, I think it's fair. So this is where I'm at right now. Edit. I didn't expect so many questions, so here's some additional context. The woman at the bar was indeed the same one from the networking group. My ex and I had a close relationship, so he involved me in everything, including work events. We don't have children, and the business is a small partnership with just 2 owners. Am I the idiot for leaving my drunk fiancé at Thanksgiving and reassessing our relationship? I, a 33-year-old woman, and my fiancé, a 38-year-old man, have been together for 2.5 years and we're getting married in February. We are on a Thanksgiving trip to visit his family. A lot of them I'm meeting for the first time. We went to a family dinner last night, about 20 of us, at his niece's place of work. Everything was going smoothly. As we're leaving, I'm in conversation with others in the family I'm getting to know when we exit and hear my partner yelling from somewhere across the town square. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Long story short, he was going off on his brother about some family drama, embarrassing all of us and especially his niece at work. He got his own Uber to the wrong hotel, and when he finally got back, he was blaming me for leaving him. He was obviously drunk, but it was ugly, and now he's going to be sleeping for a while and hungover today after getting in after 3 in the morning. And to mention, I was worried to death about him, but I can push that trauma away right now. I don't know what time Thanksgiving dinner today is, but is that even an option to go? Like, do I go without him? That's weird. But we drove all this way to be here. I would feel awful going without him, and I feel awful not going. My partner's behavior was so unacceptable. Not sure how he can come back from this one. I'm saddened and embarrassed for him, which breaks my heart. Any advice would be helpful. Now for an update. Thanks for the advice. I put my big girl pants and attitude on, making him get up and get ready to join Thanksgiving dinner. He does. He apologizes to me and his immediate family at the hotel, and then to others at the host's house. Okay, maybe it's gonna be okay. No, before you know it, he's going off on his dad and uncles, this time on the porch. I ordered an Uber as I could see what was happening in disbelief. But his niece, yes, the one he embarrassed at work, already had the car started for us to take us back to our hotel. She's a very kind girl and just gets it. We were supposed to go check into Washington, D.C. tomorrow for the weekend trip he and I planned, but I don't know how to process it all or what to do from here. He slept it off all day, and then I went to dinner with his family again. Without him this time, and he awoke pretty mad, clearly out of it still. Currently, he has a separate room tonight. I'm planning to leave now at the crack of dawn to Washington, D.C. without him to think. We are 7 hours from home by car. He can train or fly. I have our 2 dogs, so I need the vehicle, which is only going to upset him more, most likely. Bigger picture is now I need to think because there's a deeper, bigger issue at play now. A wedding in 3 months. Thanks for all your advice. I really did appreciate it all and used quite a bit. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Who cares about lack of sleep or being hungover? Wake him up in time, tell him to get his act together because so far he hasn't, and do the original plan. See how he reacts now, if he behaves like an adult now, and if there's anything you don't like, you pull the plug and go home. Comment 2. Not that I was ever in the same position precisely, but my wife would wait until I had slept a bit, greet me with a coffee, and then say, "Get dressed for dinner. We will be talking about your behavior later." Chastened, I would probably keep my mouth shut. Now, for the update. I'm writing this on my phone because I feel like I need to keep track of everything that's happening, especially after the advice you all gave me. So, here goes. I packed my bags early Saturday morning, feeling a mix of determination and anxiety about leaving for DC alone. I didn't want to see him, not after everything. I texted my fiancé to let him know I was heading out, but he didn't respond. Not that it was a surprise. During the drive, I kept thinking about what happened at Thanksgiving, unsure if we could get past it. I got to my hotel in DC and checked in, feeling relieved to have a moment to myself. The stress was just so much. I met up with a colleague for lunch at a popular local restaurant known for its crab cakes. As soon as I sat down, my colleague noticed I seemed distracted and asked about the trip and my fiancé. I shared all the details of the Thanksgiving argument, including the drama with his brother and father. My colleague just sat there, mouth open, listening. She suggested that I focus on myself during the trip and enjoy the sights. After lunch, I visited the National Mall, taking in the sights but feeling disconnected. It's hard to enjoy anything when your mind is elsewhere. That evening, I went to a small gathering with friends at a nearby bar, trying to have a good time. One friend asked about my wedding plans, and I just couldn't hold back. I revealed my doubts about marrying my fiancée. It felt good to talk about it, to not be alone in this. The night took an unexpected turn when I ran into an old college friend at the bar, who was also visiting DC. We reminisced about college days, and she mentioned an upcoming concert they were attending. I decided to join her at the concert, wanting to distract myself from my problems. I was not ready to deal with that just yet. After the concert, I got a text from my fiancé, asking where I was and expressing concern. I replied, telling him I was out with friends and would talk later. The next day, I explored more of DC and bumped into someone who worked in event planning. We started talking, and I shared my wedding plans. I told her about the venue and the time frame. The planner suggested a few changes that could make the wedding feel more personal and less stressful. Inspired, I took notes. I went back to my hotel and decided to send an invitation to my fiancé's family for a small gathering. I wanted to address the Thanksgiving incident and set some boundaries for future family interactions. Once I got back home, I prepared for the gathering. When my fiancé arrived, I greeted him warmly but kept the conversation focused on the family. I didn't want to get into it with him yet. At the gathering, I addressed the Thanksgiving incident, expressing my concerns about the family dynamics. His family listened, and his niece chimed in, mentioning how uncomfortable the arguments made her feel. I was so proud of her. The conversation shifted, and we discussed healthier ways to communicate during family events. After the gathering, my fiancé thanked me for bringing the family together and acknowledged his need for change. I was surprised at how open they all were. The next day, I got a call from a wedding venue, confirming a date that felt right. My fiancé wasn't there, so I didn't have anyone to share the news with. With the wedding date set, I felt a renewed sense of purpose and clarity about my relationship. It was a good feeling. I'm so thankful for the advice everyone has given me. I don't know what I would have done without it. Edit. I appreciate all the comments and suggestions. I want to clarify that we have been living together for about a year, and there haven't been any significant issues until now. My fiancé is a great guy, but he struggles with managing his emotions, especially when drinking. This has been a recent issue, and we have talked about it before. I know his family is very important to him, and he often feels the need to defend them, which sometimes leads to conflict. The argument at Thanksgiving was out of character for him, and I think he was just overwhelmed by everything going on. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.